Hi everybody, welcome back to the Art Corner. Today we're going to do a little scene that I got to enjoy over in London. I just got back from Europe and I took pictures when we were there of window boxes and door fronts over in Europe. They were magnificent. And my son made fun of me, but you'll see why. This one we're going to do this morning is just a typical window front that you'd see over in Europe. Cross your fingers. I have not sketched this, so you're going to go with me all the way. I am doing a smaller canvas. We're going to be in oil today, which I'm already messed up. I've got it all over me. So hang with me and we're going to do the very best we can. But it is a quaint little window box with geraniums. And in the background, you see some of the British architecture in the background. There's a home back there, some wrought iron in front. So I hope we can get this done today. If not, we'll finish it next time, but we're going to give it a whirl. I've got my palette set up with some oils to start with. I squirted my linseed oil over my paint, which is a good thing to do because it kind of gets more oil in your pigment to start out with. But let's begin by sketching. We're going to be base coating it anyway. Let me mix our colors. You want to get a medium-sized brush. I've got a couple here. Let's try this one with the angle. This is a synthetic brush at an angle, and I'm going to go ahead and blend my brick color. I'm using kind of an orange, a Camden red, a little yellow ochre, and a little burnt umber, my favorite. And it's pretty bright, actually, this brick is to be over there. I think we're getting close. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and start outlining with this brick color, using my mineral spirits to thin my paint out. Here we go. Yeah, the architecture over there was phenomenal. There we go. Now I want to thin it out. I've got my linseed oil in my plate, so I'll just dip my brush in my plate to get it. See how much smoother? Get that linseed oil on your brush and it just smooths that right out. I just want to get a base coat here without losing my line so I can sort of see where our paint's going to go. I'm going in the same direction. Let's go over here. You guys may be hearing about London the next time or two, but just because I've got several things I'd love to paint and share with you all. Here we go. Let me get my linseed oil again. It's starting to thicken up some. Now, architectural painting like this, when you're doing buildings, etc., is a little, it's a little taxing. I mean, you really have to pay attention. You really have to focus on what you're doing. Because if you don't get a shadow or a line correct, it shows very quickly. So when you paint architectural things, you have to really erase and draw quite a bit to get your lines correct. But since this is old brick, I think we can kind of cruddy it up some and it won't matter that much. We want it kind of cruddy anyway. There we go. So if it's not perfect, that's good. I'm just going to take it all the way to the top. we go. Now, this side of your brick is going to be light, and as we go in, we'll get into the darker colors to show dimension. Some more. Now, I won't be able to do a 2-week oil painting here. If you do a real good oil, it should take you a couple of weeks probably, or at least several days. Since this is kind of a quick little show, I'm gonna hit the highlights and we'll do the best we can. It might be a little impressionistic, but that's okay. Now let's go down this way. I'm gonna add a little more yellow and white and highlight this side. This side of my brick is lighter. Be sure and stop it where it needs to stop so you can see your molding. And you see I really didn't spray, so you can see my pencil lines blending into my paint. Then on the other side, I'm going to add some umber. And I'm going to darken it on this side. Because that's what my picture's telling me to do. I'm just going to take that line all the way down and then pull it out like this. There's my white molding, so I don't want to get it in my white molding, so I'm going to bring this line here and then fill it in. You may have to redraw some of your lines. That's okay. I'm going to end up getting rid of this molding right here. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll just leave it and paint over that. All right, lost that line. Let me go right back down. There we go. Pull it. Pull it in. Don't worry about your pencil marks or losing your line. You can paint them right back in. Now down here we've got a little shadow, and I guess that's just from where the window box is sitting in our ledge right here. So we'll bring that in, make that a little darker. Your darks and lights are what actually make the painting pop. You've got to get your darks and lights right. There we go. A little crooked, I'll fix that with white. Now let's start crusting up some of this brick a little bit. While I've got my umber on my brush, I'm going to enrich and give some of these bricks some depth, okay? Love burnt umber. Can't paint without it. Take it all the way to the top. Same over here. It's a little lighter over here. I'm going to throw some yellow to it. Here we go. You guys hang with me. Get out and be inspired. This is a good time of year to do that. If you can't make a trip to London, all you have to do is get out this time of year and look at the new blooms. Look at all the pretty flowers. Even in your grass seed, you probably have some flowers in your grass seed. Just get out and look at all the new things that spring is bringing out, and you'll get inspired. There we go. It's hard to paint without inspiration. You have to find something you love and get excited about, or it's just not going to turn out that good. I paint for my job, and sometimes I don't want to do what they're having me do, and you just don't do as well. You know, I have to, it's my job, but if it's not your job and you're just painting for fun, for something to do, paint what you want to paint. You'll do so much better. Right now I have to kind of do what I'm told, but one day when I retire, I'm going to paint what I love, and that's all. And hopefully I'll be a better artist. One artist friend of mine didn't start painting until he was 70 years old. and he's one of the best we have in our area. And he is a wonderful artist. Had the gift all along and didn't use it. He's using it now, and he is phenomenal. So don't think, well, I'm too old, I'll never learn. That's not true. If it's in you, it's in you. Was really, really impressed with Da Vinci. He had his own room in the National Gallery of Art in London. And Da Vinci painted large scale, and his realism was phenomenal, to say the least. That was really, really breathtaking to see. And some of the sculpture we saw was just unbelievable. And these are free museums. If you ever get over there, they're free to the public. So you can go in at no charge and just look at some of the best work that's ever been done. They ask for donations. All right. Now, I'm going to put another layer of crud on these bricks, because there's really layers and all kinds of different textures and values to this brick. So I'm going to go back over some of this, define it a little bit more. I will put some grout in just a little bit. Get right up to the edge. That's why I use a nylon brush a lot of times. It can take you right up to the edge. Now if you go over, big deal, it's just paint. You can go right back over it. Right up to the edge of my moldings here. It's real dark under here because you've got so much architecture. Let's make that real dark. Get my umber. It's darker down here. Okay, we'll let that dry just a second. While that's drying, I'm going to get a smaller brush, and I'm going to go, you have to do background and pull this way. So I'm going to kind of get into the reflection of my window a little bit. And I'm trying to think, we've got a little house, and it's really, really dark right in here. Let me get some blue out. These are the bomb, these big tubes of paint. They cost quite a bit, but they'll last you a lifetime. I'm going to do a little sky. Just needed a tiny little bit of blue. Let's see, we'll change to a smaller brush because we just need a little bit of sky. More white than blue, but it's right back up in here. Using my mineral spirits to thin it out. This is a reflection in the window. That's all this is. And to be honest, I feel a little bit rusty. I didn't paint for a whole week. And I feel just, it really will do that too. It's kind of like playing piano. If you don't practice, you get rusty. I normally paint every day, except like on the weekends I don't paint. But if you don't, you'll get rusty. There we go. Just kind of showing a reflection in the background. I'm going to add some more white. Doesn't have to be perfect because, like I said, this is just your reflection. All right, now I'm going to get this angled brush and I'm going to start sort of placing what I'm seeing in the window It's really dark here. And this is going to help our flowers really pop too. Make sure your brush is sharp. If you have to go buy more, go buy more. But your tools when you paint are the most important thing. Okay. And really and truly, you can buy a pack of new brushes, most art stores, you know, $3 and $4. You don't have to get top of the line. Especially if you paint as much as I do, you go through some brushes. And if you start buying top of the line all the time, it's going to get expensive. If I can't clean it adequately, I throw them out and I go buy more because I want a sharp brush. Now I'm painting what I see, if I agree with it or not. There's a dark area right through here on my window, so I'm going to get that in. All right. More mineral spirits, thin this out. Some artists use varnish also as a blending medium. Okay. Now, I want to kind of show my house a little bit that you see in the background. So I'm going to do a rooftop. There's a chimney here. It's vague because, once again, it's in the window, but it's there. Okay, rooftop right here. I'm going to get into my brick color just a little bit to show this is a house back here, okay? I see why Bob Ross whispers, you kind of concentrate. All right, here we go. Now, I want to get into some windows. Let me just give a light coloring right in here, and then I'm going to put the windows in on this house in the background. There's my chimney. There's another small chimney there. And all of the homes over in Europe where we were look very cottagey, very classic, traditional style. You know, there's no modern much to it. And I loved that. Everything was old. I felt like I was in a nursery rhyme or in a Mary Poppins movie. Okay. I embarrassed my son most days because I walked around with my mouth hung open. All right, here's your windows. We're just going to show some. And like I said, we want them kind of vague because they are just a reflection. We'll get them placed. I may do some more detail to them. Okay, that's about all you see. They do have little rounded tops. So let me put some little, once again, I'm going to support my arm with my pinky. When you're far away from your easel, which if you use an easel, you are far away. You've got to stabilize your hand. There we go. Put some little round tops on them. They're not perfect, that's okay, because you're not going to see all of it anyway. Now, there is a tree right up through the middle of this, okay? So, let's put our tree right up through the middle. It's reflected in our window. I'm using umber and whatever's left over on my palette to kind of lightly reflect a tree in this window. I recommend using a pointed brush, and whenever you do a tree, you go heavy, pull. Go heavy, pull, very loose. Get our trunk back in. There's some loose little thin trees over here. I'm going to use the very tip of this brush. It's sharp and new. All right, let me stabilize myself here. There we go. Get this tree in this painting. Okay. And it should look kind of like a scary movie. This is just what's reflecting in this window. It shouldn't be as defined as what's in front here, okay? Now, I am going to get darker here because that's what this reference is telling me to do. Bigger brush, darker paint right here. And this will also help us be able to see our window box flowers very clearly. Here we go. We'll bring it on down, bring it on down. There we go. It's very dark over here. Make my tree a little darker with what's left over. Once again, this edge of this window is very dark. So I'm using this brush and I'm going to darken this just like that. There we go. Now there are some loose little flyaway branches that we could go ahead and get in here. Just really feathery. It's a dead time of year. Even though their trees aren't blooming, they took such good care of their flowers that they were in the window boxes, like we're getting ready to see geraniums in March over in Europe. But they just pride themselves in the old-fashioned storybook windows, and I loved them. Now, I'm going to leave that for now. I think I may go ahead and start some grouting before we get into the actual window box itself. Now, the way you do this is let's get into some yellow ochre and some white. And I'm going to find my lines again. There we go. Maybe more white. Steady my arm and pull. If you're ever going to buy a big tube of paint, it should be white and black and burn umber. There we go. See, you can't use a straight edge now because you've got wet oil paint everywhere. So lay your pinky down on your canvas, take your brush and pull. Get some more grout. I do a number on my back looking at my paintings. I pull myself back like this so I can see it. If you're right on top of it, you'll lose your perspective. So do that. I mean, get up and stand away if you need to, or sit back like this and take a look to make sure you're where you need to be. I've got an awful lot of oil on my plate, so it's sort of sliding around here. All right. But we do have grout going this way and this way. I'll darken it again in a minute. I want to place it. Keep your eye on your art reference. Here we go with the grout. I'm not a huge orange fan, so if my brick isn't as orange as my original piece here, I'm just not a huge orange fan. I like it at Halloween, that's about it. So I really don't want a lot of orange in my house, so I've got this muted down some. There we go. And it's okay if it's a little off. These are 100-year-old homes, hundreds of year-old homes over in Europe. Now we will darken the bottom part of this grout to give it depth in just a minute. There we go. Starting to look like a brick building. There we go. Now, I want to do my windowsill. I think this white's going to work out. Let me try it. All right, so we've got to get some super duper light color here. Not completely white, but almost. I'm going to add a little more white to my painting. See my big, huge tube of white paint. Well worth it. I use it all the time. I think I'm gonna change brushes just to make sure it's clean. There we go. Now, let's get this white in here. Yeah, that's what we want. If I do get a little lead in my white, that's okay. I want it to be kind of dark in some spots. There's our window ledge. Cover up that canvas with paint. Keep an eye on your lines that you started out with. I don't know if you all have a window box. I do, and I love, it's one reason I bought my house. They are so much fun to seasonally work on. And I just have the one that I really focus on. And it just makes or breaks a house. You can really, really, and they were just, you know, just eye-stopping over there. But I couldn't wait to get home and start working on my window box. Go. All right, let's make it thick so it looks like somebody has painted it year after year after year, which is what we do to keep the paint thick on this. I like seeing some ridge come out of oil, and to do that, look guys, you got to go real thick like this, where you see globs. Now you can do that with a palette knife too. That will help you glob your paint up. But you can do it with a paintbrush as well. And just have it be thick and rich like this. Just have it thick. Right up to the edge of my wrought iron there. Now, I'm gonna sharpen my brush by doing this. This is kind of a stiff brush. It's probably got leftover paint on it. But it's probably what I need. And I'm going to start doing the edge here, same way with the thick. Make it look like an old building that's been painted 300 times. So let's get this on here in my molding. push your paintbrush into your canvas to steady your lines, okay? Just push it. Right down here, I'm going to push it to keep a steady line. There we go. Hey, I'm glad I didn't spray this because this pencil lead is really helping with the shading back in the back. Here we go, push that in there. Now, I'm going to take it on up to the top here. And this really up here is to be a darker molding because it's looking down on the, and I'm making this one up, guys, this one little molding right here. Now, let's get the paint on here first. Then I'm going to add a little black to that and make this dark up here because this window is shadowed. There we go, just like that. Now, smaller brush so I can get my edges right. Go. Now, one more time. I'm going to try to get, there we go, get that little curve in there. Get a little curve in here. Pull this down. Architecture is not easy. You have to really have a steady hand. You have to be very deliberate about your lines and keep them straight. Now, there we go. I'm going to get black lines and show the dimensions on this windowsill. So, let me move my, I think this is the brush I'll need. Let's try it and see. All right, I want to put a line here. Once again, I'm steadying my arm, okay? Just to show the dimension on the molding on this pretty windowsill. Down here is more. Okay. All right. Now, let's let that dry just a little bit. And I want to get up into the window box. I'll go back and darken that in just a minute. It just needs some time to dry. Here we go. Here's your terracotta. I'm using Camden red, orange, and a little burnt umber. This side of my window box is a little darker. It's just a little terracotta pot that someone has stuck in the window, is all this is. Now, this bottom line needs to be real dark. Right down here, that grounds it, okay? And I'm gonna just kind of use that leftover, getting back into my orange, yellow, red, give it that terracotta color right here. And there's some white mold on this too, I'd like to add. some of that black up on my pot. This is in front, so really your terracotta pot needs to be pretty high detail. Let me change brushes again. Sometimes if a brush is getting too frayed or you're feeling like you're not having the power that you should with it, just switch it out. Try another one till you get that feel. There we go. There's some white crud on this side over here. We'll get that there. Let me get some of the, and one way you can do white crud is just kind of dab like this. And that helps put some white, moldy, crusty stuff on it like this. Okay, I'm going to soften that out just a little bit. And I want to get a sharp brush and do some lines here. This is inside the pot. We want dark in here. We're going to do leaves. Now, I just kind of want to get a dark background right in here. There we go. Now, this side of the pot is actually a little darker. So I'm just going to put a little darker paint right on this end. Now, I know that looks weird like it is, but what we're going to start doing now is some green flowers. So I'm dipping into my green. These are the leaves in yellow. Boy, I just messed up that white. I'll have to do another tub of white. And I'm going to do some really bold green leaves right here. And it's going to be, like I say, it is going to be a little impressionistic because it's oil. I don't have 2 weeks to do it. Here we go. These are little geranium leaves. I want that dark background so it looks deep behind it. I'm sort of turning my brush sideways, upside down, and every which way but loose to get these leaves on here. Here we go. I want to add some dark to some of these. Some of these in the background are darker. I love the thick. Let's make it thick. There's a little stem. Here's a little stem. Now let's continue with the leaves. And that's one reason I didn't go high detail on my terracotta pot, is because they're covered up with these leaves. They're going in front of it. Don't you dare drip. Sometimes if you get too much oil, you'll get a drip. I'm going to go a little crazy and bring it out some more. Not really on my art reference, but bring it down. I'm not doing this painting justice. Yeah, they were beautiful over there. If I just took that much pride in my window box. I heard that on the Queen's Garden, that if the flowers start getting tired looking, they just pull them up and put out brand new flowers so that when you walk by, it takes your breath away. Okay? Now, I'm going to leave that for now. Now, like I said, we are going to have to squirt out some fresh white. You don't want it to mix with anything else. And I'm going to do a few pops of some white flowers. I am hurrying, guys. I'm so sorry. Let's see. Now, clean my brush really good, and I'm putting some really thick white paint. It's going to be a glob here. Glob up here. These are my flowers. I'm going to do little globs here on these stems. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to maybe do a little palette knife because this is thick. Get your palette knife out and we'll use it like cake icing, and we will just throw it on here like this. There we go. Let's do another one. Because your paint is so wet, we can just put it on there like cake icing. Big glob. Now this will take 4 years to dry, but it's worth it. You don't put glass over oil paintings anyway, so if it takes 4 years, so be it. But I do think a palette knife might be our answer here. Big glob there. Spread it out. There we go. It makes it look like our flowers are right up front. Okay? Yes, they're thick, but they're cool. And it also, because we made the house and the tree and all in the background, it helps it look like a reflection more. Okay, there we go. Don't want to overkill flowers, but now there is some things I need to do. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to do the black wrought iron. Then I'm going to fine tune our grout to help it look more realistic. Let me get the black wrought iron in. Ah. There we go. This is up front as well. It has a shiny side and a dull side. I'll show you that in just a minute. I loved all the black wrought iron too. Steadying my hand again. Keep that line straight. Just all the way across. There we go. And actually there's some green mold on the top of this wrought iron. I hope I can get that on there. get a little architecture on this with just square off the bottom of these. Now, I'm going to change brushes and do a highlight. This one has it on this side. This one has it kind of in the middle. And this one has it on this side. There we go. Just trying to show a little architecture on some of this wrought iron. Kind of where the top is should be lighter. I'm going to put a little bit of green mold on the top. So put my leftover paint, get some green mold on the top of that wrought iron like this. Guys, this is a quickie. Okay, let me get rid of those canvas holes down here. And with the leftover black paint we've got on our plate, I want to define some of this grout, okay? So let's get some light black. I want to define our windowsill a little bit. This is the final touches. With architecture, you do have to kind of outline some of your pieces, make your shadows underneath the deep ridges of your window box. Let's see if we can't get some deep lines. Okay. Then we'll get up here and do some dark, diddle squat. We'll get some dark on our brick right here, right up through here. It's dark over here. Watch my hand shake, I had too much coffee this morning. We want dark up here. I'm going to hold on to my canvas. Pull that line down. I'm going to make this darker. You can get real absorbed in architecture. I also want to do these grout lines. And it doesn't have to be perfectly white. We want some black in it. We want some dark in it. Don't panic. I'm going to go over all of it with a little black. Now, let's do dark underneath some of this grout like this to define some of that. All right, now what I'm doing now is I'm just doing some moldy dark areas on this brick. It is old brick. And just trying to make it look, give it some age and some thickness. So I'm using kind of some leftover paint that's on my palette. Cream and black, getting that grout, kind of old looking. Listen, I could work on this piece probably for 2 weeks because of the lines. All right, now, I'm going to sharpen this brush. It's probably not my favorite brush in the whole United States, but I'm going to use it anyway. And let's see if I can't get some more definition up here without messing my painting up. Yep, that's a mess. Let's get over here. There we go. Did mess it up just a little bit, but it is paint. I don't ever worry about it. Just get right back up there with your white. Kind of smooth that out. This is a reflection anyway. I've got paint all over my hands, so I really can't use my hands. There we go. Just kind of smooth that out some. And really, there's no light, really light source on that window reflection. But I think I'm going to do just a little bit here on the tree, just to show a little glimmer of some highlight here. There we go. So again, we want to get your grout dirty in here, but it's light enough so you can see what it is. And your leftover paint on your brick will kind of fill in too. All right. Let me get some more black and highlight some of these moldings. It's real dirty and moldy up through here because it's been sitting in the rain probably. So let's indicate that. You've got dirty under here. Dirty is good. You've got a lot of dirty here. Sitting in a windowsill, so we want it to look back. And in order to do that, you get your dark right back in there, okay? That helps it sit back. Define that little pot a little bit. There we go. Now, just defining my lines here. We're getting there. I think it's really close. If I can do this without, look at my thumb. I mean, my pinky has got black all over it. Now, you may have to practice pulling a straight line. It's hard, it really is. You have to really have a steady hand. Don't drink a lot of coffee before you do it. Use a straight edge. And if you mess up, big deal. Remember, it's just paint. You can always paint over it. I'm darkening this up more to give it depth. Back in here, out front here a little bit. Putting a few more ridges in my pot. I'm going to add just a little more black back in here to give these flowers. They're not real defined, but I do want to see a little more depth back in here, so I'll get black paint and just put a few little, separate my flowers a little more. Use leftover, define my pot. It's pretty dark on this side. Remember, this is kind of just, it's a detailed impressionistic version of a window box over in London. Here we go. Now, let me get a little more fill in around and some grout. I forgot my grout down here. We got a little grout here too. There we go. A little more grout down here. This helps. There we go. Just fine tuning it. Guys, I'm going to stop here soon because this painting could go on and on and on. But you see the idea? I may finish it, add a little more detail next time, or finish it myself and bring it and show you. There we go. It really does have a lot of detail, and I love the detail. And this one's mine, so I want to do a good job so I can put this in my den and look at it. Very typical of something you'll see over there, though. There we go. Can you see it? I hope so. One more little thing right here. Let me get this dark. Like I say, I could sit and work on this for 2 more weeks. A little more black on that molding without getting into your green. And sometimes, guys, with oil painting, you have to wait and let certain areas dry to go back in. But I just wanted to do this in oil. I didn't want to do it in acrylic. I wanted it to be a thick oil painting. I am going to darken under here a little bit to show some depth on this brick. There we go. Doesn't that help? When you darken, look here, you just get that black and darken those edges. It helps so much. It really gives the picture the depth it needs. Now, it's not as much depth over here, but you still need to outline. But that dark brick really helps over here. Okay, I'm getting tired. I'm going to make a mess, so I'm going to quit. I want to thank you for joining me today on the Art Corner. I may bring it back and show you the absolute finished product, but you get the gist of the idea. We'll see you next time. Thank you.